Welcome back to Daily Harmony. Today, we're exploring Lesson 116.
Okay.
A lot of us are like always searching for happiness, right?
Right.
And it can feel sometimes so hard to find.
Yeah.
Today, we're going deep, really deep into this one lesson from A Course in Miracles
Okay.
that offers, well, it's kind of a radical perspective, I think, on this whole happiness thing.
Interesting.
Our deep dive today focuses on Lesson 116,
Okay.
which is, it's interesting because it's like a review of two really important ideas.
Yeah, okay.
So we have Lesson 101, God's will for me is perfect happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And Lesson 102, I share God's will for happiness for me.
Ah, two big ones.
Yeah, they're big. And they're like deceptively simple.
Yeah.
Right? When you look at them, they're like, what? Just that.
Right. Right.
But there's so much there.
That's right. And for our listeners, what's fascinating about these two simple statements is the huge shift in understanding they invite. We're going to kind of unpack the teachings within these lessons, explore what they actually mean in your life, and even, I think we'll even give a simple exercise that you can try today
I like it.
to really connect with these ideas more directly.
Okay, so let's start
Okay.
with Lesson 101.
Okay.
God's will for me is perfect happiness. Wow. I mean, that's like almost too good to be true when you first hear it.
Yeah.
What's the core teaching here that we need to understand?
The central idea, the main thing, is that God, or what the Course calls God, has this deep desire for each of us,
Okay.
every single one of us, to experience this perfect and complete happiness.
Wow.
And when we say perfect, we're talking about a happiness that's whole. It's unbroken. It's totally free from suffering.
Okay.
It's a way of being, not just like a feeling you get because something good happened.
Oh, interesting. So it really challenges, that idea that we have to struggle, that suffering is just a part of life.
Yeah.
Like we're meant to just, toil and suffer.
Absolutely. This lesson wants us to rethink that idea, that belief that we've all had for so long.
Yeah.
It says that perfect happiness is our natural state. It's always there, underneath everything else that's going on.
Mm.
Our briefing material explained this beautifully. True happiness is aligned with God's will, which is always perfect and doesn't include any suffering.
Okay, that's a powerful statement.
So if God's will for us is perfect happiness, then where does all the unhappiness come from?
Yeah, right.
That's the big question
That's the question.
that this lesson makes us think about.
So it's saying that all this suffering that we go through, it's not something that God wants for us,
Right.
that it's coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of people find that idea really comforting.
Yeah.
People who feel like they're always fighting against something.
Absolutely. It's suggesting that suffering happens when we're out of alignment, when we move away from this natural will for happiness. And understanding this basic truth, this truth that perfect happiness is what's meant for us, that's the first step to changing how we see things.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
So God's will is perfect happiness for me.
Yeah.
Now let's look at Lesson 102.
Okay.
I share God's will for happiness for me.
Hmm.
How does this idea build on the first one?
Lesson 102 takes that first idea, the personal happiness thing, and makes it much bigger.
Okay.
It brings in this amazing idea that this desire for happiness, it's not just for each of us alone. It's a shared will, something that connects us all on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it like a river of joy that flows through everything.
So it's not just about me being happy. It's about this same desire for happiness connecting all of us.
Exactly.
Like a universal heartbeat.
Yeah.
A heartbeat of joy.
When you experience your own happiness, it's not just about you.
Okay.
It adds to this well-being that we all share. And when you bring happiness to others, you're not just being nice. You're actually making this spiritual connection stronger, realizing that we're all connected through this desire for happiness.
Wow.
Our briefing document said it well. Not only is God's will for us happiness, but it is also a shared will that connects us to others.
It makes you think about how we treat other people, doesn't it?
It does.
Knowing that we share this desire for happiness.
Yeah. And you mentioned you were interested in looking at things from different angles.
Right. I do.
Well, this idea of a shared will for happiness, it gives us a more inclusive view of life.
Okay.
It suggests that we're not competing for happiness,
Yeah.
but we're all part of the same desire.
Interesting. So we have this divine will for perfect happiness, right?
Yeah.
And we all share it.
Hmm.
But the happiness we experience in our lives, it feels, well, a little bit fragile.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Like, it depends on things going our way. How do these lessons explain that?
That brings us to a really important difference these teachings talk about. It's the difference between, let's say, the kind of temporary happiness we get from the world and the deep, lasting happiness that comes from aligning with God's will.
So two different kinds of happiness.
Right.
Okay.
Tell me more about that. Worldly happiness, as our FAQ material described it, is, and I'm quoting here, often portrayed as fleeting, dependent on external factors, and subject to change.
Hmm.
It is often based on temporary pleasures and achievements.
Yeah.
Think about that feeling you get when you buy something you really wanted, or someone gives you a compliment, or you solve a difficult problem.
Right.
These things can bring you joy, but they don't last. They fade away when things change.
It's like chasing after something that keeps moving.
Exactly. Now, on the other hand, the happiness that comes from spiritual alignment, from understanding and accepting God's will, that's different.
Okay.
That kind of happiness is described as deep, lasting, and independent of external conditions.
Hmm.
It's a feeling of peace inside, a fundamental joy that stays with you no matter what's happening in your life. It comes from your connection to something much bigger and more stable than anything in the material world.
So are you saying that maybe we've been looking for lasting happiness in the wrong places?
It's possible.
Like looking for it in things outside of ourselves instead of this inner connection?
That's a really insightful observation. These lessons encourage us to shift our attention from the external to the internal,
Okay.
to cultivate that inner connection as the source of true and lasting happiness.
Yeah.
You might even notice, when you think about your own life, that the moments when you felt really, truly happy, those moments often came as a surprise.
Interesting.
Because they weren't tied to achieving something specific in the world.
Yeah, I think I can relate to that.
This gives us a hint that true happiness doesn't depend on us striving and struggling in the usual sense.
Okay. This leads us to an idea that's a little hard to grasp sometimes. The idea that suffering is a choice.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
How do these lessons explain that?
Our briefing document was very clear about this. It said, and I'm quoting here, "Suffering is a choice, and by choosing to accept God's will, one can experience true joy."
Hmm.
Now, it's really important to understand what this means.
Okay.
It's not saying that pain and hardship don't exist. We all go through difficult times, loss, challenges.
Right. It's not about pretending that bad things don't happen.
Exactly. What it's focusing on is how we interpret these events, the beliefs we hold about them.
Okay.
These lessons are suggesting that suffering comes when we choose to see things in a way that goes against this basic will for happiness.
So it's more about how we react to what happens
Yeah.
and the stories we tell ourselves about it.
It's about the meaning we give to things and whether we hold on to ideas that keep us in pain or whether we choose to align with this vision of joy even when things are tough.
It sounds like it gives us some control,
Absolutely.
Like we're not just victims of our circumstances.
Right. And for those of you who, like you said, don't want to feel overwhelmed, this idea of suffering as a choice, it can be very empowering.
Okay, yeah.
It tells us that there's a way to find peace and joy no matter what's going on around us.
So we've been talking about some really big transformative ideas here.
We have.
How can we take these concepts, these kind of abstract ideas, and actually apply them to our everyday lives?
The review material offers some very practical advice.
Okay, good.
One example is the acceptance of joy.
Mm.
This involves thinking back on times in your life when you experienced a deep, unconditional happiness,
Okay.
a joy that wasn't dependent on getting something or achieving a goal.
Right.
The idea is to recognize that those moments were probably times when you were naturally aligned with this will for happiness.
I like that. Looking back at those moments of pure joy and seeing them as glimpses of our true selves.
Exactly. And you can even try a little exercise with this right now.
Okay.
Just take a few quiet moments, maybe a minute or two, and remember a time when you felt that kind of deep, unshakable happiness.
Mm.
What did it feel like? What were you focusing on inside? That can give you a direct experience of what it means to be aligned with this inherent joy.
Okay, yeah. I can think of a few times, like a sense of just being present, knowing that everything was okay in that moment.
Yeah.
Not needing anything to be different.
Exactly. Another easy exercise is a simplified meditation on happiness.
Okay.
You can take a few quiet moments each day to focus on this idea, on this affirmation that perfect happiness is meant for you. You can even imagine yourself receiving and embracing this happiness.
Okay.
Just letting that feeling fill you up.
Like a daily reminder.
Exactly.
A reminder of this truth.
Now, Beyond these internal practices, the material also talks about the importance of sharing happiness.
Okay.
That's about making a conscious effort to do kind and generous things for others. Shows the shared nature of God's will for happiness.
Yeah, I see that.
And lastly, there's gratitude journaling, where you make it a habit to write down the things you're grateful for, the joyful things in your day, no matter how small.
Okay.
This helps you focus on recognizing and appreciating the happiness that's already there, reflecting that divine intention.
So it's like working on both sides of the equation,
Yeah.
cultivating that inner awareness of happiness
Mhm.
and also sharing it with others.
Exactly. And all of this really emphasizes the most important message of these lessons,
Okay. Which
the
is
importance of alignment.
alignment with what exactly?
Aligning your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions, all of it, with this understanding that perfect happiness isn't something you have to earn or chase after.
Okay.
It's the very essence of who you are.
Mm.
It's God's inherent desire for you. Our briefing material put it so clearly. These lessons serve as a powerful reminder of our true nature and the divine will that governs our existence.
So for someone who wants to get this quickly but also deeply, the takeaway is that perfect happiness isn't out there somewhere. It's inside us, and we can learn to recognize it and align with it.
Exactly.
It's about remembering who we really are.
It's a change in how we see things, a conscious choice to see what's already true and to live according to that truth.
This has been such an insightful deep dive into Lesson 116
Yes.
and the core teachings of Lessons 101 and 102.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how these simple statements can lead to such profound shifts in how we understand ourselves and how we experience happiness.
They offer a really powerful and hopeful perspective on our potential for joy
Yeah.
and our connection to each other through this shared will for happiness.
Thank you for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe. See you tomorrow.
And as you go about your day today, think about how this idea of a shared will for happiness might change how you interact with others and how you see the people around you.